Jaewon Kim stood near the back of the classroom trying to make himself smaller. It wasn't easy when you were the only human in a room full of aliens. The other students towered over him or floated or crystallized in ways his earthborn brain still struggled to process. 3 months at Galactic Academy Station Epsilon 7, and he still felt like the odd one out. The new kid. The primitive. The Deathworlder. That last word stung the most. Back on Earth, his planet was just home. Mountains, oceans, forests, normal things. But to everyone here, Earth was a nightmare world where the gravity crushed bones, the weather killed without warning, and somehow humans had survived anyway. They looked at him like he was dangerous just for existing. Professor Zilter clicked his mandibles at the front of the class. The insect-like alien's many eyes gleamed under the bright lights. Students, today you will face your practical examination. A real predator observation exercise. Jaewon felt his stomach tighten. Around him, other students shifted nervously. Throkel, the massive herbivore alien who sat 2 rows ahead, made a worried rumbling sound. Velnus, the crystalline being who refracted light like a living prism, hummed an anxious note. You will analyze a contained predator specimen, Zilter continued. His translator made his voice sound flat and cold. Assess its hunting patterns. Determine threat levels. Recommend containment protocols. A student raised a tentacle. What kind of predator, Professor? Zilter's eyes turned toward Jaewon. That would ruin the exercise. Unless our human student finds this too challenging for his primitive instincts. The room went silent. Everyone turned to look at Jaewon. He felt heat rise to his face. This happened constantly. The professors testing him. The other students watching to see if he'd lose control. Waiting for the Deathworlder to prove their fears right. I'm sure it'll be fine, Professor, Jaewon said quietly. Zilter made a clicking sound that might have been satisfaction. Good. Let us begin. The floor in the center of the room opened. A cylinder rose up from below, surrounded by shimmering energy barriers. Inside something moved. Something big. Jaewon's breath caught in his throat. A Vraxis stalker. He'd studied them in his xenobiology course. 6-limbed apex predators that could hunt across multiple environments. They had adaptive camouflage that bent light itself. Acidic venom. Intelligence that allowed them to learn and adapt during combat. The galaxy rated them as Class 7 threats, the same level as a small warship. This wasn't a teaching exercise. This was insane. Jaewon looked around the room more carefully. The other instructors who usually supervised practical exams weren't here. The emergency exits showed dark indicators. Maintenance mode. Professor Zilter kept glancing at a data pad in his hands. Something was wrong. Before Jaewon could speak, Zilter pressed something on his pad. The containment field flickered. Once, twice, then disappeared completely. For one terrible moment, nobody moved. The Vraxis stalker opened 6 independent eyes, each one rotating to scan the room. Its camouflage rippled, sampling colors and textures. Then a student screamed. Chaos exploded. Velnus shattered from pure terror, her crystalline body fragmenting into glittering pieces. Throkel bellowed and charged toward the doors, but they were sealed. Students ran in every direction, screaming in languages Jaewon didn't know but understood perfectly. The universal sound of prey facing a predator. The stalker's head tilted, processing the panic. Selecting targets. While everyone else ran, Jaewon stood frozen. But his mind wasn't frozen. It shifted into something different. Something Earth had carved into humanity through a million years of being hunted by things bigger and stronger and faster. Assessment mode. Survival mode. The lab was 12 meters by 15. For exits, all sealed. 27 desks. Emergency lockers on one wall. Chemical storage on another. The stalker between him and most of his classmates. Jaewon moved. Not away from the predator. Toward it. His hand grabbed a glass beaker from a nearby table. The stalker's head swiveled, tracking the movement with predatory precision. It hadn't expected prey to move toward it. Everyone get to the far wall. Jaewon shouted. His voice cut through the screaming. Move now. Some students obeyed, too terrified to think. Others stayed frozen in place. The stalker made its choice. It lunged toward a group of immobile students, 6 limbs moving with horrifying speed. Jaewon threw the beaker. It shattered against the creature's shell, splashing it with industrial solvent. The stalker shrieked, a sound that hurt Jaewon's ears and made his teeth ache, and spun toward him. Good, Jaewon thought. His heart hammered in his chest, but his hands were steady. Look at me. I'm the threat here. The stalker's camouflage shifted to warning colors, bright patterns that advertised danger. It began stalking toward him, calculating, analyzing the strange prey that fought instead of fleeing. Jaiwan backed up slowly, keeping a desk between himself and death. Outside the sealed laboratory, he could see security officers gathering, trying to open the doors. But they weren't opening. Someone had made sure of that. This wasn't an accident. The stalker crouched, muscles coiling. Its 6 limbs extended like spears. Jaiwan met its alien eyes and felt something cold settle in his chest. Earth had taught humanity one crucial lesson that Paradise Worlds never learned. When something tries to kill you, you don't just give up and die. You fight back. The creature pounced and Jaiwan dove sideways. Claws gouged the metal floor where he'd been standing. He rolled under a desk and came up holding a broken metal rod from a support beam. The stalker circled him, reassessing. Prey didn't do this. Prey didn't use tools. Prey didn't have that look in their eyes, the look that said they understood the game and were ready to play. Through the window, Jaiwan saw more security officers arriving. But the doors stayed sealed. 18 minutes until manual override, according to the calm automated voice that announced it. 18 minutes alone with a Class 7 predator. Jaiwan adjusted his grip on the metal rod and smiled grimly despite his fear. All right then, he whispered. Let's see what a Deathworlder can really do. The stalker attacked again and the real fight began. The Vraxis stalker moved like water and lightning combined. Its 6 legs carried it across the floor faster than Jaiwan thought possible. He threw himself behind an overturned desk as acidic venom sprayed past his head. The liquid hissed when it hit metal, eating through it like paper. 4 minutes of fighting. Felt like forever. Jaiwan's left arm had a cut where the creature's claw caught him. The metal rod in his hands was bent almost useless. Blood dripped down his fingers. His lungs burned with every breath. But he was alive. Around the room, students pressed against the far wall. Some cried. Others couldn't move at all from fear. Throkal stood frozen like a statue, his massive body shaking. Velnus's shattered pieces glittered on the floor, barely holding together. The stalker circled Jaiwan, confused. In all its evolutionary history, prey either died fast or ran away. This small creature did neither. Security override denied, the automated voice said calmly from speakers overhead. Lockdown active. Manual override in 16 minutes. 16 minutes. Jaiwan wouldn't last 16 seconds in a straight fight with this monster. He needed to think. To use his brain. That was humanity's real weapon. Not strength or speed but the ability to adapt. To turn everything around him into a weapon. His eyes scanned the laboratory again. Chemical storage with dangerous liquids. Emergency equipment with medical supplies and fire systems. Environmental controls for temperature and air. Laboratory equipment with power cables and projectors. A plan formed in his mind. The stalker feinted left, then lunged right, a trick to catch prey that dodged predictably. But Jaiwan had studied footage of these creatures. He knew this move. Instead of dodging sideways, he dropped flat to the ground. The stalker sailed over him and crashed into equipment. Sparks flew everywhere as sensors shattered. Jaiwan scrambled to his feet and ran toward the chemical storage lockers. Behind him, claws scraped metal as the predator recovered and chased. Miho! Jaiwan shouted to a fish-like alien student near the emergency panel. The fire suppression system, turn it on when I say. Miho's fin quivered with fear. I can't. Yes you can. I need you. Jaiwan yanked open a chemical locker, grabbing containers without reading labels. No time to be careful. Trust me. The stalker closed the distance. 5 meters. 4. Jaiwan's hands found what he needed, a container covered in warning symbols. Highly flammable. Dangerous with oxygen. 3 meters. He spun and threw the container. It shattered on the floor between him and the stalker. Volatile chemicals splashed across the tiles. 2 meters. Now! Jaiwan screamed. Miho slammed the emergency panel with his fin. The fire suppression system activated, flooding the room with special gas. The chemical on the floor ignited instantly. A wall of flame erupted between Jaiwan and the creature. The stalker shrieked and jumped back. Its camouflage failed as fire touched its shell. Fire was one of the few things that scared every species, no matter where they came from. Jaiwan didn't celebrate. He used the few precious seconds to grab more supplies. Medical tape. Cable wire. A broken table leg. His mind raced through possibilities. The fire was already dying. The suppression system would kill it in seconds. He needed more time. Everyone. Jaiwan called to the terrified students. Make noise. Yell, bang things, anything. Confuse it. Nobody moved at first. Then Sora, a small furry alien from Vex Prime, started hitting a desk with her paws. Others joined in, clicking, howling, buzzing, stomping. The laboratory filled with chaotic sound. The stalker's head swiveled in confusion. Its 6 eyes tried to process the sensory overload. These creatures hunted by tracking heat and movement. All this chaos disrupted its senses. Jaiwan worked fast, building improvised weapons. The table leg became a spear wrapped with cable wire. Chemical containers became grenades. Medical tape bound his wounds. Through the window he saw security officers arguing with Professor Zilter. The insect alien's mandibles moved rapidly, but the doors stayed sealed. Confirmation. This was deliberate. Someone wanted this to happen. The fire died completely. The stalker approached again, but differently now. It had learned. It knew this prey used fire, coordinated with others, planned ahead. Its camouflage shifted to a pattern Jaiwan had never seen in his studies. According to his classes, Vrax's stalkers had 12 hunting modes. This was the 13th. The one reserved for intelligent prey. The creature changed tactics. It stopped focusing only on Jaiwan. It began moving toward the clustered students instead, recognizing them as easier targets. No, Jaiwan breathed. He couldn't let it reach them. His plan to buy time would mean nothing if they died. Sometimes you didn't fight to win. You fought to protect. Jaiwan grabbed another chemical container and hurled it at the stalker's head. Hey, over here, you ugly bug. The stalker's attention snapped back to him. Its brain processed the strange behavior. Prey protecting other prey. Prey drawing attention deliberately. Deathworld prey. It charged with pure killing intent. No more testing. No more calculating. Just violence. Jaiwan met it head-on. He ducked under the first strike. Claws raked across his back. Pain exploded through his body, but he kept moving, driving his improvised spear up into the joint between the creature's front leg and body. Purple blood sprayed. The creature shrieked. But it didn't stop. 5 other limbs struck at once, a killing blow that should have ended everything. Jaiwan twisted, sacrificing his shoulder to protect his chest. He rolled with the impact. Bones cracked. Something tore inside him. But he kept moving. Kept fighting. The stalker paused, genuinely confused. That attack should have killed this prey. But the small creature was standing up again. Bleeding, broken, but standing. What kind of prey stood up after that? Outside, security finally broke through the first door. But there were 3 more doors to go. 10 minutes, the automated voice announced. Jaiwan tasted blood. His vision blurred. But his mind stayed clear, running through options with cold clarity. The environment. Use the environment. He looked up at electrical cables hanging from the ceiling where the stalker had torn through equipment. Looked at emergency oxygen lines. Looked at chemical spills on the floor. Saw a way to end this. It would hurt. Probably kill him. But the students would live. Miho, Jaiwan called, his voice weaker now. Cut all the power when I say. Everything. Can you do that? Yes. The alien called back, somehow believing in this crazy human. The stalker charged one final time. Jaiwan ran straight at it. Students screamed. This was suicide. This was insane. This was human. At the last second, Jaiwan slid under the creature's body across the chemical-slicked floor. His hands grabbed the broken power cable hanging from above. Now. Miho hit the emergency cutoff. Darkness. Then Jaiwan jammed the live cable into the stalker's body, and the world became electricity and pain and the smell of burning. The stalker convulsed. Electricity coursed through its nervous system. Its camouflage failed completely. It thrashed wildly, venom spraying everywhere. Jaiwan held on even as electricity burned through his hands, his arms, his entire body. Held on because letting go meant it could recover. Meant it could still kill his classmates. Held on because Earth taught humans that sometimes survival meant being willing to die. The creature's movements slowed. Stopped. Collapsed. Jaiwan released the cable and fell beside it, his body smoking. The lights flickered back on. Through fading vision, he saw Sora approaching carefully. Saw Throkal finally moving to shield the others. Saw Velnus's fragments pulling back together. Security burst through the final door, weapons ready. They found terrified students, one dead Vraxis stalker, and a human boy who should have been dead but somehow wasn't. Jaiwan smiled through bloody teeth. Test. Complete, he whispered before darkness took him. Jaiwan woke up wrapped in blue glowing bandages that pulsed with healing light. Every breath hurt, but he was breathing. That mattered. You should be dead, Healer Talus said. The glowing alien adjusted machines with her tentacles. 6 different ways you should have died. I counted. Sorry, Jaiwan managed, his throat raw. Don't be. You're the most interesting patient I've had in 30 years. The door opened. Commander Vex entered, his scaled body filling the doorway. Behind him came Station Director Qualnies, a legal expert named Shin, and Dr. Kian, one of the few human teachers at the academy. We need your statement about what happened, Commander Vex said. Statement? Dr. Kian's voice was sharp. A deadly predator was released deliberately. That's attempted murder, not an incident. The security recordings are clear, Arbiter Shin added. Professor Zilter manually disabled 17 safety systems. Everything was intentional. Jaiwan's chest tightened. The other students, are they okay? Alive, Vex confirmed. Minor injuries and trauma, but alive. Because of you. Where's Zilter? Heavy silence fell. He escaped, Vex finally admitted, his scales darkening. Used a maintenance shuttle during the confusion. We're tracking him. He had help, Jaiwan said with certainty. This was too organized. Someone knew which class I'd be in. Someone helped him sabotage everything. Dr. Kian moved closer. Jaiwan, the station is in chaos. Half the species here are calling you a hero. The other half are saying you're proof that humans are dangerous. Exactly what Zilter wanted, Jaiwan realized. Arbiter Shin pulled up holographic files. We found communications between Zilter and an organization called the Purity Coalition. They believe Deathworld species, especially humans, are a threat to galactic civilization. One student killed a Vraxis stalker with improvised weapons, Qualny said quietly. They're asking what trained human soldiers could do. So what? Jaiwan struggled to sit up despite the healer's warnings. We should apologize for surviving? For saving our classmates? The Galactic Council has requested your presence, Vex said. They want to evaluate whether humans should continue integration into galactic society. Jaiwan felt cold. Earth had spent 50 years working toward acceptance. And now because he refused to die, all of that was threatened. When, he asked. 3 days. You'll speak for your entire species. After they left, Jaiwan lay staring at the ceiling. Through the window he could see Earth, a blue dot spinning in the darkness. Oh. His communicator chimed with messages. Hundreds of them. Thank you for saving us from Miho. You're the bravest person I know from Sora. You're my friend from Throkel. But mixed in were others, Deathworlder monster. You proved their point. Earth should be quarantined. 3 days to defend his entire species. The next morning, Healer Talus cleared him for limited activity. Jaiwan expected to return quietly to his room. Instead he found a crowd. Hundreds of students lined the corridor outside the medical bay. Dozens of different species. When he emerged, they didn't speak. They simply created a path, their gestures of respect different for each species but universal in meaning. Sora approached first, pressing a carved stone into his hand, a Vexian life debt token. Throkel knelt to bring his massive head level with Jaiwan's. My herd honors your strength, small friend. One by one, students approached. Some gave gifts. Some spoke. Some simply touched his arm in respect. Jaiwan felt something breaking inside his chest. Not pain. Something else. He'd spent 3 months being the outsider. The Deathworlder. The one from the wrong planet. He'd never expected this. Thank you, he managed. All of you. That afternoon, an unexpected visitor waited at his quarters. Counselor Thane, a massive dragon-like alien known for respecting warriors. I have an unusual request, Thane said. I'm listening. The Galactic Council is afraid. Not of humans specifically, but of change. Deathworld species threaten the balance because you excel at warfare. Jaiwan's jaw tightened. We're not warmongers. I know. But most species evolved past predation millions of years ago. We settled gentle worlds. We created civilization without creating weapons first. The concept of soldiers is just theory to us. Earth didn't give us a choice, Jaiwan said. We developed weapons because everything on our planet had claws and teeth and venom. We learned to fight because the alternative was extinction. Thane's eyes gleamed. That's what you need to tell the Council. But words won't convince them alone. They need to see that human abilities can protect, not just destroy. What are you suggesting? Train them. The students. Security. Anyone willing to learn. Show the galaxy that Deathworld skills benefit everyone. It was risky. It could make humans seem more dangerous. But it could also show what Earth really taught humanity: adaptation, protection, survival. I'll do it, Jaiwan decided. But any species can join. No discrimination. Thane's mouth curved into a smile. Agreed. The next day, Jaiwan stood in an empty training facility, wondering if anyone would come. The door opened. Miho entered first. Then Sora. Throkel ducked through the doorframe. Velnus glided in, fully reformed. More followed. Students. Security officers. Instructors. 50 beings of 30 species all watching him. Jaiwan took a breath. I'm Jaiwan Kim. I'm from Earth. Where I come from, survival isn't guaranteed. But we learned that challenges make us stronger. That working together means everyone survives. Today I'll teach you what my world taught me. Not how to kill. How to live. He picked up a simple metal rod. This is a tool. In wrong hands, a weapon. In right hands, salvation. Everything depends on intent. On choosing protection over aggression. The training began. Jaiwan taught environmental awareness. Using surroundings. Moving efficiently. Assessing threats. Thinking tactically. But mostly he taught human philosophy. Never give up. Never leave anyone behind. Face fear with courage, and when courage fails, face it with stubbornness. By the second day, something remarkable happened. Students adapted techniques to their own biology. Throkel's strength made him immovable. Sora's speed let her navigate obstacles. Velnus used her crystalline structure for enhanced sensing. They weren't becoming human. They were becoming better versions of themselves. Word spread. More students joined. Civilians. A delegation from a nearby trading station requested demonstrations. On the third morning, Commander Vex messaged, "You've started something unprecedented. Security forces from 6 systems want training. The Council is watching." That evening, Dr. Kian found him in the facility. "Ready for tomorrow?" she asked. Jaiwan looked at students practicing, helping each other, laughing despite their earlier fear. Species who'd barely interacted now worked as teams. "Yeah," he said. "I am." "Good. Because you're not just defending humanity anymore. You're defending the idea that being different isn't dangerous. That strength can protect." Jaiwan smiled. "Then let's show them what a Deathworlder can really do." The council chamber floated in space like a massive ring of glass and metal. Jaiwan had seen pictures, but nothing prepared him for the real thing. The room was a transparent dome, making it feel like floating among the stars. Representatives from 243 different species sat in circles, their platforms hovering at different heights based on their political power. At the center hung the speaker's platform. High Counselor Vareth stood there, a being of pure energy contained in crystal, one of the oldest species in the galaxy. Jaiwan walked down the long corridor flanked by Ambassador Choi from Earth and Counselor Thane. His wounds had healed, but he still felt phantom pains. "Remember, you're not on trial," Ambassador Choi whispered. "This is just an inquiry." "Feels like a trial," Jaiwan muttered. "Because it is," Thane rumbled quietly. "Just not yours. Earth's." The massive doors opened. Jaiwan stepped inside, and 243 species fell silent. "Human Jaiwan Kim," Varetha's voice spoke directly in his mind. "You stand before the Galactic Council to give testimony about the incident at Academy Station. Do you understand?" "I do," Jaiwan said. "Then we begin." Vareth gestured, and holographic displays filled the air. Security footage. Medical reports. Damage assessments. 7 days ago, you killed a Vraxis stalker using improvised weapons. 18 students were injured. Damage cost 1.3 million credits. Your actions caused widespread panic in the current political crisis. What do you say?" "I say I saved 34 lives," Jaiwan replied steadily. "Including my own." Whispers rippled through the chamber. Some delegates leaned forward with interest. Others shimmered with disapproval. "The question is not whether you saved lives," Vareth continued, "but what your ability to do so reveals about your species. Humans have been part of galactic society for only 53 years. You have shown unprecedented aggression and combat ability. The incident has raised concerns that Earth represents a threat too." "With respect," Ambassador Choi interrupted, "my government contests this framing. Jaiwan Kim is a victim of attempted murder, not a perpetrator of violence." A new voice cut through the chamber. "The boy is a symptom, not the disease." Everyone turned to a platform Jaiwan hadn't noticed before. A group of beings hidden behind diplomatic veils stood there. "The Purity Coalition has requested to address this council," Vareth announced. Jaiwan's blood went cold. "They claim to have relevant evidence." The veiled figure at the center stood. Its voice carried absolute conviction. "For 20,000 years we've enjoyed peace. We achieved this through balance, ensuring no single species could threaten the many. Deathworld species disrupt this balance. Their biology makes them weapons. And humans are the most dangerous of all. That's not true, Jaiwan said hotly. Isn't it? You killed a Vraxis stalker. A feat requiring a military strike team for most species. You did it alone, injured, with no training. And you expect us to believe you're not dangerous. I expect you to believe that defending innocent people isn't the same as being a threat, Jaiwan shot back. Enough, Vareth commanded. Purity Coalition, you claimed evidence. Present it. The veiled figure gestured. New holograms appeared, communications, financial records, personnel files. For 2 years we've documented concerning patterns. Humans excelling in security roles. Dominating physical competitions. Being recruited into law enforcement at rates exceeding their population. They're positioning themselves as the galaxy's warriors. And warriors eventually seek war. That's paranoid speculation, not evidence, Ambassador Choi said. Then explain this. The hologram changed, showing footage from the Academy incident. But this was different. From another angle, timestamped 20 minutes before the attack. It showed Professor Zilter talking with Jaiwan. This footage was recovered from Zilter's archive before he fled. It shows him speaking with the human before the incident. They were working together. The chamber erupted in chaos. Jaiwan's mind reeled. Impossible. He'd never spoken to Zilter outside of class. This was fabricated. It had to be. That's a lie. Jaiwan shouted over the noise. I never met with him. That footage is fake. Is it? The veiled figure's voice carried smugness. Or are you simply denying your role in this conspiracy? Perhaps the incident was staged to make humans appear heroic. To increase your political standing. Why would I risk my life and my classmates' lives for politics? Jaiwan demanded. Because Deathworlders understand acceptable losses. Because you knew your biology would let you survive what would kill others. Because... Stop. A new voice rang through the chamber. A small figure stepped forward from the viewing gallery. Sora, the furry Vexian student. Behind her came Miho, Throkal, and Velnus. Then more students. Dozens of them. We were there, Sora said, her translator making her small voice loud. We saw everything. That footage is manipulated. Jaiwan never met with Professor Zilter before the attack. Student testimony is irrelevant, the veiled figure said dismissively. They're traumatized. Unreliable. Then I suppose my testimony is also irrelevant? Commander Vex stepped forward. I reviewed every second of station security footage. That clip has been digitally altered. The timestamp is fake. The angle impossible from any station camera. It's a fabrication. Convenient, the veiled figure said. A human sympathizer defending. I'm not finished. Vex's voice was ice. We've also traced the source of that footage. It came from a secure server registered to an organization calling itself the Purity Coalition. The same organization that funded Professor Zilter's research. The same organization that provided him with the Vraxis stalker. The same organization that sabotaged Academy safety protocols. Silence fell like a hammer. You didn't just try to kill one human student, Vex continued. You tried to kill 47 students of multiple species to frame humanity. You're not protectors of galactic peace. You're terrorists. The veiled figures shifted uncomfortably. Arbiter Shin stepped forward, holding a data tablet. Galactic law is clear. Fabricating evidence before the Council carries a sentence of complete political dissolution. The Purity Coalition is hereby stripped of all recognition and subject to criminal investigation. You can't, the veiled figure began. We can, Vareth said, and now the ancient being's voice carried finality. And we will. Remove them. Security moved in. The veiled figures were escorted out, their protests fading. Vareth turned back to Jaiwan. It appears, young human, that you are indeed a victim rather than a conspirator. The Council apologizes for this deception. What about the larger question? Ambassador Choi asked. Earth's integration. Human participation in galactic society. Vareth was quiet for a long moment. That discussion will continue. But perhaps in a different context. We have seen today that prejudice and fear can be as dangerous as any weapon. The Council will reconvene in 3 days to address integration policies fairly. As Jaiwan left the chamber, students surrounded him. Not just those from the Academy but others who'd come to watch. Species he'd never met offered gestures of support. Throkal placed a massive hand on his shoulder. You stood before the entire galaxy and didn't back down. That takes courage. I was terrified, Jaiwan admitted. Courage isn't the absence of fear, Miho said. It's facing it anyway. You taught us that. Jaiwan looked at the gathered students, dozens of species, different biologies, different worlds. United by something simple, they'd learned from each other. Maybe that was the real answer. Not whether humans were dangerous or safe, but whether different species could learn to understand each other. Ambassador Choi smiled. Come on. We have 3 days to prepare the real defense of humanity, and I think you just showed us how to do it. 3 days passed in a blur of preparation. Jaiwan spent his time gathering testimonials, reviewing data, and working with Ambassador Choi on what to say. But mostly he trained with the students. Every session drew bigger crowds. Species from across the station came to watch, to learn, to understand. On the morning of the council reconvening, Jaiwan stood before the mirror in his quarters. He wore simple Earth clothing, jeans and a plain shirt. Ambassador Choi had suggested formal diplomatic robes, but Jaiwan refused. If he was representing humanity, he'd do it as himself. The council chamber felt different this time. Less hostile. More curious. High Counselor Veritha's crystalline form pulsed with soft light. We reconvened to address the question of Earth's continued integration into galactic society. Human Jaiwan Kim, you may speak. Jaiwan stepped forward. Every eye in the chamber focused on him. 3 weeks ago, I came to this academy excited to learn, he began. I wanted to understand the galaxy, to be part of something bigger than one planet. Instead, I learned that many of you see me as a threat just for existing. Murmurs rippled through the delegates. You call Earth a death world. You're right. My planet is harsh. The gravity is crushing. The weather kills. Predators hunt. Diseases spread. Survival isn't guaranteed for anyone born there. Jaiwan paused, looking around the chamber. But that harshness taught us something valuable. It taught us to adapt, to innovate, to protect each other. Yes, we learned to fight, because everything on Earth fights to survive. But we also learned cooperation. We learned that alone we're weak. Together we're strong. He gestured to the viewing gallery where his classmates sat. When that stalker attacked, I didn't fight to prove I was dangerous. I fought to protect my friends. Species I'd only known for 3 months. Species completely different from me. I fought because that's what my world taught me. You don't abandon your pack. Sora stood up in the gallery. He saved my life. Miho rose next. Mine too. Throkel stood, his massive frame towering. And mine. One by one, all 33 surviving students from that classroom stood. Humans aren't weapons, Jaiwan continued, his voice stronger now. We're survivors. And we want to share what we've learned. Not to conquer. Not to dominate. To help. Because another thing Earth taught us. A rising tide lifts all boats. When everyone survives, everyone wins. Counselor Thane stood from his delegation platform. I've watched this human train students from 30 different species. He didn't make them human. He helped them become better versions of themselves. That's not a threat. That's a gift. But what happens when humans gain military power? A delegate challenged. When your survival instincts are turned toward conquest? The same thing that happens with any species, Ambassador Choi interjected. We regulate. We create laws. We maintain checks and balances. Humans aren't special in our capacity for violence. We're just honest about acknowledging it exists. Veritha's form pulsed thoughtfully. The Purity Coalition feared human potential. In trying to prove you dangerous, they revealed their own capacity for harm. Perhaps the question is not whether Deathworlders are dangerous, but whether we can learn from perspectives different from our own. A delegate from a water world spoke up. My species evolved in gentle seas. We've never known predation. But recently we've faced piracy in our trade routes. Traditional security forces don't understand the threat psychology. We've requested human security consultants. They've reduced piracy by 60% in 3 months. Another delegate added, human emergency response teams have saved thousands of lives in disaster zones. Their ability to function under extreme stress is unmatched. More voices joined in. Species that had worked with humans. Benefited from human perspectives. Learned from Earth's harsh lessons. Verith raised a crystalline appendage for silence. It seems the galaxy has already been voting with its actions. Humanity has integrated not through force, but through demonstrating value. The question becomes, do we formalize this reality or fight against it? The vote was called. Delegates conferred with their home governments. Lights on the voting board began illuminating, green for continued integration, red for restriction. Jaiwan held his breath. Green, green, green. A few reds appeared, but they were vastly outnumbered. Green, green, green. The final tally appeared, 201 for continued integration, 42 against. The motion passes, Vareth declared. Earth's status as a full member of Galactic Society is confirmed and strengthened. Furthermore, the Council recognizes the value of Deathworld perspectives. We formally established the Adaptive Survival Institute, to be headquartered at Academy Station, with human Jaiwan Kim as founding director. Jaiwan blinked in shock. What? Ambassador Choi was grinning. Congratulations, Director Kim. You just got promoted. The chamber erupted in varied sounds of approval, clicks, whistles, hums, and a few Earth-style cheers from the human delegation. Later, as Jaiwan walked through the station corridors, students approached him constantly. Not just from the academy, but from ships that had docked specifically to meet the human who changed everything. A young crystalline being, barely formed, floated up to him. Is it true you'll teach anyone? Anyone willing to learn, Jaiwan confirmed. Even someone scared of everything? Jaiwan knelt down to the small alien's level. Especially them. Fear is natural. It's what you do with that fear that matters. That evening, Jaiwan stood in the new Institute facility, a converted cargo bay that would become the first official Deathworld Studies Center. Dr. Kian helped him arrange equipment while Sora, Miho, Throkal, and Velnus argued about training schedule logistics. You realize what you've started? Dr. Kian said quietly. A training program? A movement. You've changed how the galaxy sees not just humans but all Deathworld species. Survivors instead of threats. Teachers instead of warriors. Through the viewport, Jaiwan could see Earth rising over the station's horizon. That blue marble that had seemed so far away 3 months ago. Home. But this station felt like home too now. This collection of species learning from each other, growing together, building something new. His communicator chimed. A message from Earth's government. Well done, son. You made us proud. Come home whenever you're ready. Jaiwan smiled and typed back. I am home. And I'm just getting started. The next morning, the first official class of the Adaptive Survival Institute began. 200 students from 90 different species filled the facility. Some came from paradise worlds seeking to understand hardship. Others came from harsh environments like Earth, wanting to share their knowledge. Jaiwan stood before them, no longer nervous. No longer the outsider. Welcome, he began, to the Institute. You come from different worlds, different biologies, different experiences. That's perfect. Because survival isn't about being the strongest or the fastest. It's about adapting, learning, working together. He picked up a simple metal rod, the same kind he'd used against the stalker. My world taught me that challenges make us stronger. That what doesn't kill you gives you wisdom. That the harshest environments produce the most resilient life. But most importantly, Earth taught me that we survive best when we survive together. Jaiwan looked across the sea of alien faces, each one unique, each one valuable. So let's learn from each other. Let's build something the galaxy has never seen, a community where being different makes us stronger, not weaker. Where Deathworld perspectives aren't feared but celebrated. Where every species contributes to the survival of all. He smiled. Where I come from, we have a saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Today I'll show you why Earth taught us that lesson. And tomorrow you'll teach me what your worlds taught you. Together, we'll become something better than any of us could be alone. The class began, and with it, a new chapter in galactic history. Not written by fear or conquest, but by cooperation and understanding. The Deathworlder had prevailed. And in doing so, had shown the galaxy a better way forward. The end. Retry.